Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Gus Sorola.
Move over, Pokemon Go. There's a new champ in town. For now. Yeah, Mario's only been out on the App Store for a few days, but hey, he's already setting records. But while the running game is off to a quick start, investors are still worried the early burst of speeds are not gonna last.
Nintendo's first actual first-party game for smartphones.
Yeah, we're not really counting Miitomo since that was more of a social experience, or Pokemon Go since that was licensed out to Niantic.
I forgot about Miitomo. Right. It's been downloaded more than 10 million times in the US since it debuted on December 15th, according to App Annie, an analytics firm that tracks app stats the same way we look at NPD or GfK for video game sales stats. Worldwide, it's already passed 37 million downloads.
That's a lot of downloads
That's a lot
for
of
less
million.
than a week.
And the US market makes up about 11 million of that total.
So what that means is it far surpassed the launch numbers of previous hits like Pokemon Go or Clash Royale. And it's important to note that these numbers are only for iOS devices. Mario Run hasn't even arrived yet on Android.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I prefer the sequel Clash Royale with cheese to Clash Royale.
Boo.
That's happening on, well, actually we don't know because there's been no announcement, and unlike the Switch, the details are still secret, but when it does, it'll surely drive Mario numbers up even further.
Now, according to App Annie, the day one revenue totaled more than $4 million, which translates to about 400,000 conversions from the free game to the full game.
Yeah, it's at zero. Which maybe we should break down a bit because we've noticed some questions and confusion in the comments last week when we first reported the disappointment from investors. The way Nintendo is releasing Mario Run is different than the usual free with microtransaction model of apps like, what Pokemon Go used.
Yeah, instead, the download itself is free, and then you can play the first few levels of the game and mess around with the features, but to progress any further than that, you have to pay $10 to unlock the full version. So instead of tempting you $1 at a time, it's kind of all or nothing.
Yeah. The upside there is that the game won't keep milking you for more money. The downside, at least from a traditional publishing perspective, is that there's a limit on how much money Nintendo can make from any one user. No whales here.
Nope, just what you see is what you get. But back to the fun launch stats. App Annie also noted that the game had 20 million pre-registrations. Those are people who clicked on the notify button in the App Store prior to its release. So it had a lot of hype going into its launch, which Pokemon Go didn't. That one kind of dropped as a surprise for all of us. Mm-hmm. So there's, it's not apples to apples.
I had clicked Apple.
I did too.
Okay.
We are two of the stats.
We are two of the 20 million. Not surprisingly, the game is currently on top of the App Store charts in both free and top grossing categories.
Okay, so that's lots of big numbers, very impressive, but numbers in a vacuum aren't worth a whole lot. So let's do some math gymnastics and put them in context.
You tell me, I didn't stretch.
Well, you don't need to stretch, you're already limber.
No.
Gumby.
According to another app analytics firm, Sensor Tower, Pokemon Go was estimated to have been downloaded about 7.5 million times in the US in its first week and generated about $1.6 million in revenue per day.
So on paper, Mario Run is 50% up on Pokemon Go in its first week without the benefit of Android and generated more than twice the revenue in its first day. So all that sounds like really good news for Nintendo, right? Right, well, investors have been less impressed with all that.
Nintendo's stock price dropped 7% Monday and has been declining for 5 straight days. Analysts told Wall Street Journal that they've been concerned with some of the negative reviews of the game, and while it's topped the charts in the US, it has not done so in Japan.
Which is kind of a huge surprise. It's Mario.
Yeah, that's crazy. In fairness, though, Super Mario Run became the top-ranked game by downloads in 60 countries shortly after its launch, according to Nintendo.
Yeah, investors also concerned that the game's $10 price might be too rich for some customers as opposed to the free-to-play model of games like Pokemon Go. Also, probably not happy that there's a ceiling on how much any one consumer can spend on the game.
I'm betting that's the one they're most upset about.
Yeah, we want them to be able to spend $100 if they want.
SuperData had previously predicted that the game would earn $60 million in its first month, but it now expects the game to only bring in between $12 million and $15 million in its first month, which is a really big drop-off.
Pretty significant. Requiring it to always be online is prohibitive, and the game is still a bit too heavy-handed for quick play on a phone, said the SuperData researcher. Finally, we anticipate Nintendo to announce a discount after the holidays to keep momentum.
Investors also don't like the fact that Nintendo isn't planning to release any additional features or content for Mario Run. What you see is what you get. Again, that's a big departure from games like Pokemon Go, which are constantly updating and adding new bells and whistles to bring you back and keep you spending, you whale.
Mario Run is Nintendo's first smartphone game, and as is pretty typical for Nintendo, the company wants to do stuff its way.
Yep. For starters, Nintendo is betting that smartphone gamers will be willing to pay more for premium price for the right game. Lots of gamers hate microtransactions, but there's no doubt that the strategy is a proven moneymaker.
Yeah, so it's a little bit I don't know, there's upsides and downsides. So maybe some clouds on the horizon for Mario Run. While it definitely had an eye-popping debut, still a little bit of a question as to whether or not it can maintain the momentum the way Pokemon Go did, at least for a few weeks. And the likely answer is that it probably won't. People may download it, enjoy it, even pay for it, but it doesn't have that zeitgeist behind it that Pokemon Go had. Remember, the demand for Pokemon Go only grew after the first week.
Yeah, you saw people playing it.
And like going out and being in parks, and it was in running into the middle of traffic and like doing a whole bunch of stupid stuff, and so everyone kind of wanted to get in on that. It was a cultural event that you don't want to miss out on.
Even though Mario Run has surged past Pokemon Go, it has had some big advantages, mainly in availability and publicity. Mario Run is available in 150 countries, whereas Pokemon Go launched in only 3.
And even though Pokemon Go was only downloaded 900,000 times on its first day, that is the worldwide phenomenon thing that really carried it through. It ended up reaching 5.6 million downloads by its third day, and then just kept growing. Mario Run, probably gonna be a more traditional sales pattern. It's strong early on as people get it right on launch day, and then quickly declining interest over time.
Mario Run also benefited from a massive worldwide publicity campaign. Shigeru Miyamoto himself unveiled it this summer at an Apple event. Then there was an appearance on The Tonight Show. By contrast, Pokemon Go just, kind of appeared.
Yeah, I didn't even know that it had come out, except Bernie said he downloaded it earlier that day. And that's how I found out that it had even come out. There was no crazy press releases. There was no appearances on late night talk shows, nothing like that. It wasn't there, and then it was. And then people took it and ran with it. And even though Mario got off to a really quick start, still has a long ways to go before it catches up with Pokemon Go's mass numbers.
Pokemon Go has been downloaded more than 100 million times worldwide and has a reported daily revenue of more than $10 million, which means that it's still a money-making machine thanks to all those microtransactions.
So, what do we know at this point?
It's still early. Mario Run's early numbers show that Nintendo still knows how to make hits, and there's a hunger out there for classic franchises.
Analyst Sir Toto has predicted that Super Mario Run will in total hit 1 billion downloads, which would make it one of the most popular smartphone games in all of history, up there with Temple Run and Angry Birds, although those franchises took multiple games to do it, so we'll see.
SuperData CEO Joost van Drunen, I'm sorry, Mr. Van Drunen, I know I messed that name up, I did my best. He says that other developers will be watching to see if customers will lay down $10 upfront for a mobile game. Nintendo also is entering the crowded mobile market at a good time with a visible franchise, he said.
The nostalgia factor plays a key role here, as an entire generation of gamers suddenly and finally finds itself able to play one of their childhood franchises on their phone 2 weeks before the holidays, Van Drunen said.
What do you think of Mario Run? Did you spend $10 for the full game?
Yep.
Are you happy with it? I did too. Let us know in the comments. Leave us a comment.
Yeah. Yes. I'm gonna pin that at the top. And for all your Mario Run news, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the know.
How many toads do you have, guys?
I don't have very many. I'm still on World 3, I think. Let me look.
I had to get my phone screen fixed over the weekend, so I didn't get to play it. They made me leave it overnight.
What?
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of kidnapping these toads and then forcing them to live in different houses based on their color. I think it sets a really bad precedent.
Should we just put them in camps?